Have you ever felt called by God, but at the same time forgotten? Have you ever had the feeling that you received a promise, but life seems to have completely ignored it? Because that's exactly where David's story begins, and also the story of many people today. We live in a generation that loves the result, but despises the process. Wants the throne, but doesn't want the field. Wants the promise, but doesn't accept the time. And perhaps this is one of the greatest spiritual conflicts of our time. Because when God calls someone, He doesn't deliver everything at once. He delivers a word and then delivers a path. David didn't start as king. He didn't start as a famous warrior. He didn't start recognized, applauded, or celebrated. He started as someone invisible to the eyes of men, but totally visible to the eyes of God. And here there's already a detail that many people ignore. God doesn't anoint to accelerate. God anoints to prepare. Maybe you're living exactly this tension right now. You feel that there's something of God upon your life, a promise, a calling, a purpose, but nothing around you confirms it. And this generates doubt, generates frustration, generates silence. But what if the silence isn't absence? What if it's process? David's story begins backstage. Before the throne comes anonymity. Before the crown comes caring for what no one values. Before the promise is fulfilled comes the time when it seems forgotten. And this is where many give up, because they confuse delay with rejection, confuse waiting with abandonment, confuse process with mistake. But God never makes mistakes in timing. He works in the invisible, while you can only see the visible. The anointing David received didn't place him immediately in the palace. It placed him en route. And maybe that's what God is doing with you now, not delaying you, but aligning you. Keep this in mind, because when we get to the moment of David's anointing, you'll notice something that completely changes how you see the process. David's anointing didn't happen in a palace. There was no audience. There were no applause. There was no public announcement. It happened at home, among brothers, and even so, it almost didn't happen. When the prophet Samuel arrives at Jesse's house, he's not looking for a boy. He's looking for a king.
And Jesse does what any father of that time would do. Presents the older sons, the strong ones, the experienced ones, those who look like leaders. One by one passes before Samuel, and one by one, God rejects them, until something embarrassing happens. Samuel asks, "Are these all your sons?" And Jesse's answer reveals much more than it seems. There remains yet the youngest, but he's in the field, taking care of the sheep. The chosen one wasn't even remembered. The anointed one wasn't even called. David wasn't forgotten only by men. He was forgotten within his own house. And this hurts, because it's one thing for the world not to recognize you. It's another thing when those close to you don't see what God sees. But God sees. When David enters, God doesn't ask for a resume, doesn't ask for experience, doesn't ask for appearance. God says something that crosses generations. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And there, before the brothers who would never choose him, David is anointed king of Israel. The oil flows, the promise is released, the calling is declared. And now, everything changes? No, nothing changes. David doesn't go to the palace, doesn't assume the throne, doesn't gain position, doesn't gain status. He goes back to the field. And here is one of the greatest spiritual lessons of this story. Being anointed doesn't mean being promoted immediately. The anointing changes who you are inside, not where you are outside. Many people get frustrated because they think that when God confirms something, reality should automatically adjust. But with David, it was the opposite. The promise came first. The process came after. And maybe this explains why so many people break halfway through, because they receive the word but can't bear the time between the word and its fulfillment. God doesn't take David from the field after the anointing because the field still had something to teach. The anointing wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning of preparation. And maybe today God is doing this with you, confirming something in your heart, but keeping you exactly in the same place. Not as punishment, but as care. Because not every environment that seems like delay is delay. Sometimes it's protection. Sometimes it's formation. Sometimes it's love. And before putting someone in the spotlight, God forms that someone in anonymity. The field wasn't punishment, it was school. While no one called David by name, God called his heart closer. In the field, there was no audience, there was no recognition, there were no applause. Just the sound of the wind, the silence of long nights, and the weight of responsibility for something that wasn't valued. Taking care of sheep wasn't noble. It was lonely. It was repetitive. It was invisible. And maybe that's exactly how you feel now. Doing what needs to be done without anyone noticing. Giving your best without immediate return. But the field was the place where David learned things the throne would never teach. It was there that he learned to care before governing. It was there that he learned to protect before leading. It was there that he learned to trust God when no one was watching. In the field, David faced lions. In the field, he faced bears, not to be famous, but to be faithful. No one wrote songs about it. No one recorded these victories, but God saw them all. And here there's a powerful spiritual principle. God uses what you live in secret to sustain what you live in public. What seemed small was forming something great. What seemed insignificant was shaping character. What seemed delay was building internal structure. Because there's no point arriving fast if you're not ready. There's no point being seen if you don't know how to sustain it. There's no point receiving authority before learning submission. The field taught David to depend on God, not on applause, not on validation, not on position. And this changes everything. Maybe today you're asking God for a stage, but He's giving you a field. Maybe you want recognition, but God is giving you depth. Because the field reveals who you are when no one sees you. And God always starts there. Keep this in mind, because when David appears before Goliath, it won't be a boy improvising courage. It will be someone trained in silence, someone forged in faithfulness, someone who has already won battles no one knows about. When David appears before Goliath, many people think that's where his story begins. But it doesn't begin there. Goliath wasn't the beginning, it was the consequence. David didn't wake up brave that day. He didn't improvise faith. He didn't try something new. He simply repeated in public what he already did in secret. The difference is that in the field, no one applauded. In the valley, everyone watched. While the army of Israel saw a giant, David saw something familiar. Because whoever has faced lions and bears doesn't get intimidated easily. Here there's an important lesson. The size of the challenge reveals the level of preparation. Goliath doesn't accelerate David's process, it confirms the process. And even after this extraordinary victory, the throne still doesn't come. Because victories don't replace maturity, and recognition doesn't nullify God's timing. David defeats the giant, but returns to a reality still full of waiting. This confronts us, because many of us think that after a great victory, God should release everything. But God doesn't work with emotional shortcuts. He works with formation. After Goliath, David becomes known, sung about, recognized, but not crowned. This is where the process becomes more painful, because now David no longer suffers in anonymity, he suffers in injustice. Saul looks at David and sees a threat, not because David did something wrong, but because God was with him. The same oil that marked David as chosen awakens envy, fear, and persecution. And this is confusing. How can someone anointed by God live running, hiding, sleeping in caves? But this is one of the greatest tests of the process. Continuing faithful when the promise seems to contradict reality. David doesn't lose faith, doesn't abandon integrity, doesn't rebel against God. He learns something difficult. Not all suffering is correction. Sometimes it's preparation. God was teaching David to lead without bitterness, to wait without hardening his heart, to trust even when everything seemed unfair. Because whoever governs without dealing with their heart repeats the mistakes of those who fell before. There comes a moment when David has the chance to shorten the process. Saul enters the cave. He's vulnerable, defenseless, and humanly speaking, everything seemed right. It was the perfect opportunity, the problem solved, the shortcut available. But David understands something few understand. Not every opportunity comes from God. He could touch the anointed, but he chooses to honor God's timing. David doesn't kill Saul, he controls himself. And this reveals spiritual maturity. Because character isn't what you do when no one can stop you. It's what you choose to do when everything favors you. David refuses to build the future by breaking principles. He prefers to wait rather than accelerate. And here, the process reaches its highest point. God was not just forming a king, he was forming a heart after his own. Time passes, Saul falls, and David finally is crowned king. But when the throne arrives, David is no longer the same boy. He arrives prepared, broken, mature. The process taught what the throne would never. The promise is fulfilled, but the greatest gift was who David became on the way. And this speaks directly to you. Maybe you're living in the waiting. Maybe the promise hasn't been fulfilled yet. Maybe the field is still your reality. But God doesn't waste processes. If He promised, He fulfills. In the right time, in the right way, with you ready to sustain it. Trust, wait, remain faithful. Because the same God who anoints is the God who sustains until the end. What God promised you didn't die in the process. Maybe it's being formed in it. Don't give up in the field. Don't become bitter in the waiting. Don't accelerate what God is dealing with. The process isn't the enemy of the promise. It's the path to it. If this word spoke to you, leave your like. This helps the video reach more people. Subscribe to the channel to continue studying the Bible with depth and truth. And share this video with someone who is living the process today.